Grassovich.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Please come to order. Court is now in session.
Okay, good morning. Does the state stipulate to the presence of the panel?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, is Detective Mogg here?
He's outside.
All right, I'll start so we can bring the witness back in and Mr. Prosecutors can begin his cross-examination. Yeah. Oh, that fixed? Okay. That one still works? Okay.
Mr. Mugg, we're going to re-swear you in, okay? You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Clifford, C-L-I-F-F-O-R-D, Mogg, M-O-G-G.
Thank you. Good morning, Detective Mogg.
Morning, Mr. Graskovich.
And you know, we'll stop right there. It's obviously not a detective. I know old habits die hard. You've since retired, and now you're a private investigator.
I'm not a private investigator. I'm a
Private
consultant.
consultant.
Correct.
Fair. All right. Turning your attention to your testimony at the end of yesterday, the locations of interest, and this was your slide that I'm referring to. I believe it's slide 7. You were primarily focused on this 5.3-mile trip, give or take, between Mr. Garman's residence and the residence belonging to Mr. Tellis, correct?
That's an approximation.
Okay. How many neighborhoods or designated neighborhoods are within, just along this route, this 5.3-mile distance?
Numerous.
Fair to say hundreds.
I wouldn't know if it was hundreds, but there's numerous.
You had given testimony towards the end of the day yesterday that you had driven through Mr. Tellis's neighborhood, correct?
I did.
Looking for another Denali?
Examining the area, looking for vehicles, correct.
And what other vehicles would you be looking for other than a red Denali?
We were advised that Mr. Tejas also had 2 other vehicles. I believe one is a BMW, the other one was a Tesla. And so we drove the area. I believe at the time that I drove through, I can't recall if both the BMW, the Tesla, and the Tahoe were at his residence or not, but those were the vehicles we knew that he had access to.
Okay, and in reference to this 5.3-mile route, which you had reviewed approximately 20 cameras on, did you review that route for the BMW?
No, we did not.
Did you review that route for the Tesla?
We did not.
So then back to Mr. Tellis's neighborhood, you'd agree with me that when you drove through Mr. Tellis's neighborhood, you were looking for a red Denali similar to his?
I was looking for all the vehicles that were registered to him.
Approximately how many houses were in his specific neighborhood?
Oh, rough guess, maybe 100-ish. It's kind of a looped neighborhood.
Do you recall the name of the neighborhood?
I do not.
Do you recall the subdivision to which this neighborhood belonged?
I I can't recall off the top of my head the name of the subdivision.
Do you recall of whether or not it was in, let's say, Lake Las Vegas, Piccoli Ranch, Summerlin?
I believe it might have been Piccoli Ranch area. That's what's right there on Charleston.
Are you aware of what, or any HOAs that had jurisdiction, assuming there was, over this neighborhood?
I'm not.
You had given testimony concerning, and I'll flip through so we can all see. It's your slide 15. (9:10), and you had given testimony yesterday at about 4:12 p.m. that you had seen this red Denali entering this area near where Mr. Tellis lived, correct?
At approximately 9:10 in the morning, that's correct.
And just so we're clear, at 9:10 from this camera that it was 9601 Red Hills Drive, basically the Piggott Elementary School, you saw the Denali arriving in the neighborhood, not specifically to Mr. Tellis's house, but the area, correct?
It drove into the neighborhood where Mr. Tejas lives.
And he was arriving, assuming, and you know, that's again too, we don't know who was driving, do we?
That's correct.
Throughout your testimony yesterday, you repeatedly said he, the driver, he. We don't know, all things being you, whether it was a he or a she, do we?
I'm fairly confident it was a male.
Okay, but you didn't know. You don't know. You can't testify today whether it was a male or a female, can you?
Not positively.
But back to this arrival. Whoever's driving this Denali at 9:10:18 DVR time on September 2nd, 2022, do you know where that Denali was arriving from, or where its place of origin is from?
Well, I looked at phone records from Mr. Tejas, and I know that earlier in the morning, previous to 9:10, he was down in the area of, I believe it was Desert Inn and Durango. There's a school down there in that neighborhood.
Okay. But again, not based upon any captures from any ring cams, school cams, gas station cams. That's based upon his cell phone data, correct?
That's correct. The camera at his residence did not record, and there wasn't anything on the ring camera of evidentiary value.
And we'll get to that. But just so we're clear, though, as far as where this vehicle was, we don't know, do we? We have no records concerning that red Denali prior to 9:10 a.m.
That's correct.
We don't know the location of this red Denali on September 1st, the day before, do we?
I do not.
And we don't know the location of this red Denali following, let's say, 9/3, do we?
I believe there were surveillance units set up on that vehicle at some point after 9/2, but I don't recall the exact date.
Let me ask you this. Are you aware of Mr. Tellis being under surveillance prior to this date in question, September 2nd, 2022?
No.
At this point in time, you worked with the homicide unit?
That's correct.
So you were unaware of what other involvement, if any other units may have had concerning details concerning Mr. Tellis?
I know there were other units in the Metropolitan Police Department that were involved in an investigation concerning Mr. Tejas, but I don't know the details concerning that investigation.
Are you aware of a surveillance detail that had been focused on Mr. Tellis on the days preceding this killing of Mr. Garum?
I am not.
Are you aware that he was subject to surveillance on the day of this killing of Mr. Garing?
I am not.
The next slide I'd like you to turn your attention to is, so let's see, we'll go here. It's at 9:12. This is where you discussed roughly the same time Mr. Gehrman is leaving the taco shop. Again, you'd said that the time was wrong in this, correct?
That's correct. The clock time on the DVR is wrong. I believe this is, I'd have to go back and look at the previous slide, but probably somewhere around 9:14 in the morning.
Okay, and you were shown a receipt by Mr. Hamner concerning a receipt.
I don't think I was shown a receipt.
Okay, was there any discussion with you and Mr. Hamner concerning your receipt from Roberto's Taco Shop on the morning in question?
No, I know that one existed. That's how we ended up going there. That was found during a search of Mr. Gurman's residence. And so that's one of the reasons that we went to the taco shop, is to follow up on the time of that receipt. And I believe, if memory serves me correctly, the time on the receipt was about 9:04.
And are you aware of that receipt and the timestamp on the receipt being accurate, or is it just an assumption that it was?
Based on the adjusted time on the DVR, I think the time was pretty accurate, but I can't testify that it absolutely was accurate.
All right. Now moving on. This is a 9/12/32. This is from the same 906 Red Hills Drive, the Piggott Elementary, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your testimony yesterday was at this time we see this Denali leaving this area, correct?
Yes, sir.
But just so we're clear, the last point of either seeing this vehicle arriving or leaving, this is about as close as we get to the Telus residence, correct?
It is.
But still, we have a distance, don't we? I mean, it's not right around the corner, but I mean, there's a distance between this camera and Mr. Tellus's home.
Where I lose track of the Denali as it heads north, it's right around the corner from Mr. Tejas' residence.
And, you know, since we're on the subject, I'll just address this right now. This surveillance camera, the Ring camera at Mr. Tellus's home, security cameras. It's your testimony that you could not find any video from that day, correct?
That's correct. If any video would have been recovered, it would have been provided to me so that I could have used it in my PowerPoint. I know that detectives at the scene who were executing the search warrant there, in addition to myself, requested that our digital forensics lab come out and examine the DVR. I don't know what the results of that examination are.
So you're not able to give testimony whether it was cloud-based or not?
I am not.
You're not aware of whether the passcode had been given to it and followed through?
All I know is that the digital forensics detectives came out, and they're the ones that examined the system.
So they would know in reference to that system versus you, fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And you're not aware of when any security system may have been installed, whether it was the day before on the Tellus residence, are you?
I am not.
Are you aware of any other neighbors of Mr. Tellus who had been spoken to concerning their Ring cameras or their security systems that could have gotten you closer to the Tellus home?
I am aware that other detectives canvassed the area for surveillance video, and I don't believe we were able to locate any.
But you can't say for certain, can you?
Well, I can say that if video would have been recovered, it would have been given to me to be used as part of the PowerPoint that I created.
But again, and just so we're clear, and if I may approach this screen, I mean, we've got the Piggott Elementary School here. That's where the green pen is, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we have the Tellus home up here, a ways away on the other side of Spanish Steps, correct?
Correct.
So you said it was right around the corner, but it's actually really not. You have to leave Piggott Elementary School, come over here on Red Hills, drive up Red Hills, let's see, Silk Tassel, hit Spanish Steps. And from this picture, we can't really see, but we don't really have the entrance to Mr. Tellus's neighborhood captured, do we?
So where I lose track of the Denali is about 6 houses south of the intersection, and then right around the corner to Mr. Tejas' residence.
But you agree with me, just based upon this capture, and this presumably is from a satellite?
The picture of this?
Yes.
Yes, it's Google Earth.
We've got quite a few homes. We've got that silk tassel drive. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on one side, 6 on the other. Then we have Spanish steps. We have homes on each side. There's a lot of homes there, isn't there, that could have security cameras.
There were, but not every home has security cameras, and just because you have a camera doesn't mean that it captures anything.
Kind of like in the instance of Mr. Tellis' home. Just because the camera, that doesn't mean anything was captured, correct?
That's correct.
But fair to say, we do have several homes between this Piggott vantage point and the Tellis home.
There are several, yes.
You had given testimony concerning seeing a red Denali drive by from a certain vantage point, and you weren't able to see whether or not it had a plate, correct?
That's correct.
Do you recall which capture you were referring to?
I believe that was from 1405 Wintergreen, and there was no plate visible on the back of the truck at the time that it drove northbound on Wintergreen.
And what time was that?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Would referring to your notes or your slide preparation refresh your recollection?
If you want to back out of this and go to the PowerPoint itself, and then I have to scroll down to the slides.
Okay, I'll do this. We'll go through it together.
So it's that angle.
Right here?
No, not this. But it's this angle from 1405 Wintergreen.
Not that one?
No, sir.
That's Mr. Tellis. I'm sorry, that's Mr. Gehrman. Let's see. And you know, since we're here in the interest of time, let's address this. You were asked, did something jump out at you? Recall that line of questioning yesterday?
Correct.
And you were shown this in State's Exhibit 317. Mr. Hamner had shown this to the jury, correct?
Yes.
We have a visor down in the summertime on a vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
And you'd said there was something telling, something very characteristic about this capture, correct?
There's one of them, yes.
And we'll get to the other matters, but you said something here on the front just showed you that this must be the same vehicle or similar to the vehicle, correct?
It stood out to me as something that was similar on both the suspect's vehicle and on Mr. Tejas' vehicle.
And if I can show you what's been admitted and shown, published, State's Exhibit 317.
Yes.
Let me approach. This was it, correct?
That's correct.
And you said in your testimonies that there's something here that matches something there concerning this light color area?
Correct. It's just something that drew my attention on both vehicles. And it's a faded area on the plastic of the left front of the Denali.
But then again, this faded area, the sun's reflecting off of it, isn't it?
I don't believe the sun was reflecting off of that.
I would submit that the exhibit speaks for itself. If I told you that it is, do you have any reason to disagree with me?
That the sun is reflecting off of that?
Yes.
I would.
Okay. Well, obviously, too, we'll let those that are the ultimate determiners of fact to determine that. There was other testimony concerning things jumping out at you. The rims on the Denali.
Correct.
These are stock rims, aren't they?
They are.
The tinting in the front, lighter tinting in the front, darker tinting in the back. That was something else?
That's correct, when you take everything into consideration.
But that's a standard feature, is it not? The front windows are generally not tinted and the backs are.
That's not true.
Have you done research concerning the 2007 Denali?
I've seen Denalis. I've seen tinted windows in the front. tinted windows all the way around, no tint all the way around, some windows tinted, some windows not. It runs the gamut. It depends on the owner of the vehicle and whether or not you want to tint your windows.
Have you done any research in reference to like Car Guru or CarMax, Google, concerning 2007 Denali's, what they
I
look
have.
like? Fairly similar to this one.
Similar, yes.
They all have Denali on the side like this Denali has, correct?
They do.
Now moving forward, please stop me when we come to the capture, I think was the word used in reference to the license plate.
So if you play this clip,
Okay,
stop.
right there.
Yes.
All right. Oh,
That's on cornflower. That's another angle where you do not see a license plate on the rear of the vehicle.
okay. And this is at 1042, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is some distance from the Telus home, correct?
It's about a block.
Now let's hit that. About a block from the Telus home?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's about a block from Mr. Gehrman's residence.
Okay.
It's roughly 5.3 miles from Mr. Tejas' residence.
All right. So we've got a red Denali, about an hour and 30 minutes away from the other Denali that's captured at Piggott, that's some distance away from the Telus home, correct?
I believe this time is correct. You'd have to go to the slide before for me to confirm that. It is.
Okay. So again, about an hour and a half.
Correct.
We've got a 5.3 mile stretch. And you'll agree with me that we don't have continuous coverage, do we? We have 20 spots, give or take, over a 5.3 mile area. Fair to say?
That's correct. Again, some houses had video, some didn't. Some captured the vehicle, some didn't. Some weren't recording, some were.
And it's your testimony that this captures at 1042, correct? Give or take, assuming it's accurate.
Yes, sir.
And I'll go forward now to 1405 Winter Green.
I believe that one also shows that there was no plate on the back of the vehicle.
Okay, and this is 17 minutes after the last one?
Yes, correct.
And this is all in the area of Mr. Gehrman's home, correct?
This is on Wintergreen, about 30 feet north of Bronze Circle where Mr. Gehrman lived.
So we've got all this time that's transpired, correct?
Minutes.
Well, if we go from 1042 to 1101, I mean, we've got some time. Almost 20 minutes.
That's also the suspect out walking around the area.
Okay, we've got 20 minutes that we've gone by, correct?
Sure.
Fair to say that this video window that we've been looking at begins at about 9:10, correct? Concerning the Denali. I don't want to say it's Mr. Tellis' Denali, but a Denali, correct?
That's correct.
And one of the latter slides that we look at, it's about 11:50, isn't it?
Approximately, yes.
That's a fair amount of time, correct?
It is.
Turning your attention to a Denali, a red Denali. Did you receive information that there was about 67 red Denalis in the Vegas area?
There's actually more than that. We had an initial listing, I believe, over 100. Of that 100, one of the Denalis listed on there was registered at Mr. Tejas' residence to his wife, Mary, We further narrowed that list down to red Yukons. The first list was 07 to 14 Yukons. The next list that we narrowed down was 07 to 2014 red Yukons. Again, Mr. Tejas' wife, Mary, at his address was listed on that list. We narrowed it down even further then to red Denali's. And again, Mr. Tejas' wife, Mary, at his address was listed as an owner of that vehicle. We even searched advanced license plate readers, and Mr. Tejas' vehicle was photographed by an advanced license plate reader vehicle at his residence, bearing a license plate, a Nevada commemorative plate. I believe it was 944 Adam.
Okay, and when was this?
I don't know what the exact date was, but I could get it.
Okay, so you don't have it today. I mean, I appreciate you laying out for us the steps of this investigation, but when was this capture done? When was this? Please, tell us.
I could get it for you.
Okay. Have you given it to the state?
I believe everybody has the license plate reader information.
We don't know when, the origin. I mean, as you sit here today, and trust me, it's not a test, but I mean, you don't have it with you.
I do have it with me. I just don't know that my computer is going to work in here.
Okay, fair enough. Fair to say, though, there's more than one Denali, and we're talking about a 5.3-mile area that you were focusing on, correct?
There is more than one Denali in the Clark County Valley.
At no point in time, and you'd agree with me that it's your theory, but at no point in time do we have any capture of a red Denali parked and there's a license plate being either removed or put upon it, correct?
There's not.
Most of the captures that we have of this red Denali, you don't really see a plate one way or the other, do you?
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
You don't see the plate as it's traveling around Mr. Gurman's neighborhood. Once it goes down Washington, you can tell that there is something on the back of the vehicle that was not there before.
And if you could direct our attention to which slide specifically you're referring to.
Yes, if you can pull up the one that's on Washington.
Okay, so it's forward from this, looking at the time.
Correct. It's near the end.
The one that's taken from the gas station.
No.
Okay.
The one that's taken from the backyard of a residence that backs up to Washington. And then also from the Winco Foods on Washington.
Okay. Please tell me when I should stop.
Right there. So where the red box was, if you look, you can see white and darker. And I believe that is the commemorative license plate that was on the back of the vehicle.
But that's as good as we get. You're saying that that's the one that belongs to the Telus residence, but that's it. You're drawing this conclusion based upon this image.
Oh, no. I was present for the execution of a search warrant at Mr. Tejas' residence, where several items of evidence were recovered that absolutely confirmed my belief that Mr. Tejas' vehicle was the one used in the commission of Jeffrey Gurman's murder.
And we understand that, and we understand your point of view in reference to this. But concerning this vehicle, this capture at 11:35, at 11:35 Sunspot Street at 11:35 in the morning, you're basing this conclusion concerning this commemorative plate, and that this is the vehicle based upon that image.
What I'm saying is that when the vehicle was last photographed at 7200 Periwinkle as it turned west onto Vegas Drive, the next video that I have, or the next capture I have of the vehicle, is as it travels westbound on Washington from Tenaya. And at that point, it appears to me that there's a license plate on the vehicle.
So you're saying there's a better image of the plate capture than this concerning these putting onto the plate than this what we were looking at?
There is no image of the license plate being put back on the vehicle.
But I'm asking concerning the image of the plate.
If you go to the next one, I believe, from Winco Foods, and again, you can look at the back of that. Now you can clearly see that there is a white area on the rear lift gate.
And that's the commemorative plate that you've testified concerning.
The previous one is what I thought it was, just based on the color scheme, what it looked like.
You see something there, and that's this commemorative plate that you're sure belongs to the Tellus vehicle.
No, in this video or in this clip, all I'm saying is now it appears that there is a license plate on the vehicle.
And in reference to the license plate that you're testifying is on this vehicle, you can't tell what kind of plate it is.
You cannot.
Thank you. No further questions. Based on that example, we have no further.
Thank you very much for your testimony here today. And you step down and you're excused from your subpoena. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sure.
Can I still go here?
Can the witness still leave?
Oh, yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to recess for lunch. We don't have our next witness coming until 1 o'clock. And so during this recess, you're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or means of communication, or social media. Read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case. Do research, consult dictionaries, the internet, or reference materials. Do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form or express any opinion regarding the case until it's finally submitted to you. Thank you. You go with the officer of the court, and we will be in recess.
Thank you. All right, for next hearing, please.